Hey, welcome to the Woodshed episode number 6. We're trying a slightly different format this time. So I have some, whiteboard slides here that I've prepared. So today we're talking about what's called a composite rhythm, and this could mean a number of things. But what I'm talking about here will be basically combining superimposed rhythms or polyrhythms or anything like that into a single stream of rhythmic information for the sake of internalizing complex rhythms more easily, or sort of having something that's a little bit easier to get into our fingers and wrap our head around. So what we have in front of us is basically a 3 against 5 polyrhythm. This isn't standard notation, but I think that it explains the sort of proportions nicely. Just have these blocks that are essentially one rhythmic unit per inch. So what are we doing here? Well, we're trying to combine these into one thing. Okay, so beginning and end here. And now we got some notes here. These aren't really quarter notes. They're just where the note starts. They're sort of the rhythmic impulse and each attack. So as you can see, there are 2 that line up at the very beginning. And then, they sort of break off from there. But if we put some extra stems here, you can see that it's basically 5 groups of 3 or 3 groups of 5. And I didn't want to use dotted quarter notes because when you get to the 5, then it gets a little bit annoying, and then you have to do either like a half note tied to an eighth note or some sort of elaborate way of notating it. So I just like to use these stems like this. And so what we want to do now is basically combine these into one rhythmic stream of information. So we have the first 2 that are aligned, and then the next one is going to be the second bar of 3 on the bottom. Then the next one will be the second bar of 5, followed by the third bar of 3, then the fourth bar of 3, and then the third bar of 5, and then the fifth bar of 3. Cool. So that might sound like a mouthful, but I'll try to make this visually, self-evident what I'm talking about. So in the middle here, we basically have this da, do, da, do, da, do. Okay, and so if we just smush those together into one rhythm, which is this that's notated here on the bottom, instead of some complex thing where your right limb is doing 5s and the left is doing 3s, now it's just one single stream that you don't need multiple limbs for. So da, do, da, do da, do. That's the type of thing that outlines the 5 against 3 polyrhythm, but it's no longer separate. It's a lot easier to execute because you have a single rhythm in front of you. So what we can do from here is basically, we can say, okay, well, the whole cycle takes 15 eighth notes to resolve. So anytime you have a polyrhythm, say 3 against 5, then it is just the product of those to get you the full cycle. And the denominator is up to you. But, in the case of 3 against 7 against 5, then that would be, 3 times 5 times 7. And so that's how you get the full cycle. Now, beyond this, we can add some extra little, ornaments here for some articulations, or, here basically I have phrase marks for the 3 groups of 5, and then the accent marks are for the 5 groups of 3. So it helps retain that sort of independent rhythmic line while we have just a single stream of information. Okay, and here is another way of doing it. So, we have the same rhythm twice, and you can see that the bar line is in different places. And so once you have this single rhythm, then you can basically outline it however you want. And so there are a number of ways to do this, and this is one of them.